Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where Hollywood's executive suites are turning into their own version of The Real Housewives. And David Ellison looks like quite the new addition who can hold his own as a drama queen. Yes, from Paramount's new situationship with Taylor Sheridan to letting 1,000 people go last week with more pink slips to come, to this weekend insisting that they have the #1 movie, even though everyone else in Hollywood thinks Black Phone will edge out Regretting You when Monday's final numbers come in. Yes, you see, on Sunday, and it's always worked for decades, the whole time we've reported on box office, we go by Sunday estimates, and they're almost always right on the money, literally. And the studios usually report numbers that line up with what everyone else is seeing. So that makes it highly unusual for a studio to claim almost 1 million more than what everybody else is predicting. Now, under usual circumstances, the difference of 1 million doesn't make much of a difference. But we're splitting hairs here. In the worst October at the box office in 27 years. Of course, not counting the pandemic. But oh boy, we thought October was bad, and now it's official. Now, sure, this last weekend of October was particularly brutal. With Halloween falling on a Friday, pretty much wiping out the weekend. And then, as if that wasn't tough enough, the final game of the World Series fell on Saturday. But Hollywood didn't even try, with not a single new release this weekend. Just a trick-or-treat offering of holdovers, re-releases, and the New Yorgos Lanthimos movie going wide. Whew! No wonder trick-or-treaters decided to go to other houses. Now, to be fair, though, as I've seen a couple of trades point out, Disney and Universal's theme park offerings did a lot of business this weekend. Hot tickets. And it just underscores, as we've been discussing, how in an increasingly digital world, people are craving real-life experiences. It's not just enough to go out. You gotta go out. And Hollywood can deliver such an experience at the multiplex. Think back 2 years to Five Nights at Freddy's, which came out the weekend right before Halloween, and that definitely was a big event, in fact, helping to pave the way for Minecraft's success, itself also an event. But this October actually did have one big winner. Welcome to Derry. Yes, as HBO revealed late last week, we have a press release for you, they said. The prequel series was their third biggest debut of all time, right behind House of the Dragon and The Last of Us. I think ever since they started their streaming service, not since HBO was a thing as a premium cable channel, but in fact, as they've been recently revealing, hardly anybody watches HBO anymore. I mean, they're just keeping it alive probably because of contractual obligations, but they've switched most of their audience over to the app, which is not so good for shows like Peacemaker. It did not trend again. We'll talk about it when we get to Nielsen. It didn't chart. Okay, so anyway. But House of the Dragon and The Last of Us, that's mighty good company. Whew! And great news for Andy Muschietti. If this holds, is it a potential reprieve from his Flash debacle? Will this put his supposed Batman movie back in play? He doesn't want to go the way of Rian Johnson, who insists that, someday he might still make that Star Wars movie. And we're like, okay, yeah, sure. But, Will Muschietti, we've kind of felt that way. Muschietti's like, I'm still making that Batman movie. And we're like, are you? But what do you think after watching the first, and, a lot of people didn't realize that Welcome to Derry episode 2 debuted on Halloween instead of this evening. But anyway, now that you've seen the first 2 episodes of Welcome, maybe you dropped it too. Who knows? I'm curious, what's your experience so far? But how do you feel about Muschietti directing the Gunverse Batman? I don't even know why there is a Gunverse Batman. We got Robert Pattinson right there, but whatever. All right, so this success makes it the anti-Alien Earth, at least so far, because we have to wonder if it can maintain this momentum. Everyone might have checked out the first episode, a real shocker, but not everyone loved it. I know several people who I got to watch it. And you know what finally got them to watch it? This press release that the show had done so well. I was like, you don't want to be sleeping on a hit, do you? And they were like, all right. None of them liked it. That made me nervous. That made me really nervous. And now it's moving into the post-Halloween space, right? I mean, I think it got a little bit of a boost, being that big Halloween right around Halloween event. And also, the very similar Stranger Things is right around the corner. Sure, Stranger Things is actually a ripoff of Stephen King, but what do I always tell you about getting to audiences first? That's what really matters. But the Sunday HBO time slot is a mighty powerful spot to be in. And when the Stranger Things full trailer debuted on Thursday, it never trended. Vecna was in the top 25 for a little bit, but it never got into top 10, which I find shocking. I think maybe because it leaked the night before, but it was easily overshadowed by the new Scream 7 trailer from Paramount. You know, Scream 7 had been rumored to be dropping on Thursday, but it was never confirmed. And when Stranger Things announced on Wednesday that they would be dropping their trailer on Thursday, I was like, maybe they're going to move. Maybe Paramount won't want to be in the wake of Stranger Things. But Paramount stuck with it, and the trailers dropped, in fact, at the exact same time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. And Scream 7 won. Ooh, spicy! You go, Ellison. And, I do love our dramatic executives. It's crazy. All right, so we'll see if Welcome to Derry's ratings continue to float. Who's your favorite Hollywood housewife? All right, so Warner Brothers, what a year! And they maybe could have even saved this October box office if they hadn't moved Mortal Kombat 2 at the last minute so late that no other movie could take the spot. And that ended up decimating the last 2 weekends of the month. It was supposed to open October 24th and would have had its second weekend for Halloween weekend. But this is a tough, Halloween weekend was really tough with Halloween on a Friday and the World Series. And look at all these horrible movies this month. Maybe Warner Brothers, as we discussed last week, saved Mortal Kombat 2 from this losers club. So yeah, let's take a look at the losers of October 2025. So much drama. And if you hit subscribe, you'll never miss even a drop of tea. And if you hit the bell, you'll get notifications as soon as my videos go up. And a 30-minute heads up when I'm about to go live. For instance, the next big discussion we're going to have is Predator Badlands going to turn this losing streak around? I don't know. Predator's not a very strong franchise, but we'll see what the Rotten Tomatoes score is. What are your predictions for opening weekend and Rotten Tomatoes score? The review embargo lifts this Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're not going to be able to predict the exact tomato, although give it a shot if you want, if you're feeling lucky, but you can say if you think the movie will be fresh or rotten. My review will be going up when the embargo lifts. So if you hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications, you'll know as soon as my review goes up. But also it'll be at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But come on, hit that subscribe and maybe the like button, please. All right, so what's the next movie you're planning to see in theaters? Predator Badlands? The Running Man? Now You See Me 3? Hey, you might be excited about that movie. People like magic. Or are you waiting for Thanksgiving with Wicked for Good and Zootopia 2? Or are you waiting for mid to late December with Avatar 3? Because man, most of you sure as heck didn't see any of these movies in October. I think going into the month seemed pretty well planned, except of course that loss for Mortal Kombat 2. But October turned out to be a month of underperforming. Who'd have thought that Taylor Swift would do just a third of her Eras Tour box office, or that Dwayne Johnson would have the lowest opening of his career? He made some real clunkers early on, and this was lower than those. Channing Tatum, Jennifer Lopez, and Keanu Reeves also suffered some of the worst opening of their careers. Those of you who are in the movie star is dead camp are probably having an awesome time right now. Woo! And of course, while we all knew Jared Leto was a disaster, we warned Disney, we said, buy him out of his contract. I don't care how big of a Tron fan he is. Opening less than Morbius? Damn, turns out the Tron franchise is niche. And The Simpsons predicts another one. Maybe the fact that Jared Leto even liked Tron should have been a big warning sign. All right, it's like if Peyton Reed likes something. I'll never forget it, Peyton Reed. All right. Up-and-coming stars didn't fare much better. And as for the horror genre, which has been going strong all freaking year, October is the month they decide to go soft. Also, there wasn't a single breakout awards film either in the specialty market. Whew! But here's the real question, which some of you might have already talked about in the comments. While the theatrical business is becoming more reliant on event movies, and you don't have to be an expensive movie to be an event. Again, look at Five Nights at Freddy's. Maybe the real issue this month is that most of these movies aren't very good. Maybe some of them aren't bad, but they're not great enough for people to spend the money and time that it takes these days and to deal with a lot of the headaches, because the theater experience is, it's a real roll of the dice. Sometimes you have a great time. Sometimes you're like, why do I do it? Why do I go to the theater? But anyway, I thought it was worth going to the theater for the Tron Ares IMAX 3D experience. I thought that was incredible, and I know many of you enjoyed it as well. But again, as I said, it turns out mainstream audiences really don't like Jared Leto or Tron. So that was a real doozy, that movie it ended up being. But don't worry, I'm going to say it. The one winner for the fall season overall has been anime in North America. Sony really has something here with their Crunchyroll division, and it'll be interesting to see where they can take this. Okay, let's take a look at this crime scene. Whew! There's Regretting You and Black Phone 2 fighting it out to be the king of the tiny mountain. Neither has any hope of coming even close to their comps. It ends with Us, also based on a Colleen Hoover novel, and the first Black Phone movie. Chainsaw Man in its second weekend saw a drop of 66%. Demon Slayer had a bigger second weekend drop last month, but it also opened much bigger. K-pop Demon Hunters. Maybe they should have skipped round 2 in theaters because it didn't do nearly as well as the first round. And you want the last thing people think about with your movie to be something positive. But at least Netflix can take solace in the fact that most K-pop Demon Hunter fans were too busy trick-or-treating as Rumi to go see the movie again in theaters. And hey, last time the sing-along version was only available in theaters for that weekend and only hit Netflix, on the Monday after. But right now it's available, as is the movie, and it's still in top 3, 19 weeks in. So I think that also hurt its ability to do well in theaters. They got Grady. It was not, I kind of felt it wasn't a good idea, and I think that it was not. All right, so Begonia went wide, right? Not a lot of awards chatter for this. We'll see what happens, though. I think this awards season, Yorgos Lanthimos, I think he and Emma Stone have already gotten a lot of awards. I think they should have taken a little bit longer breaks maybe between movies. But, it's a Yorgos Lanthimos movie. It's not going to do great in North America. His biggest box office hit to date, Poor Things, did 70% of its box office overseas. As we've discussed, usually for Hollywood movies, it's about 60% overseas. That's a healthy movie that has the correct amount of appeal at home and abroad. 40-60. 40% domestic, or in the 40s domestic, in the 60s overseas. All right, so the cinema score isn't great either, but again, this is Yorgos Lanthimos, and this is actually the first of his movies to even get a cinema score. Maybe he shouldn't try and he'd be like, you don't have to pull my movie, it's okay. The Back to the Future 40th anniversary re-release was in line with other recent re-releases, very solid, under Jaws, but higher than Toy Story, so that's nice. And also it's kind of an ad to make people get it digitally at home and stuff like that, so I think that's nice. But new movie Springsteen, will it even hit 30 million domestic? Probably not. Will Disney still not budge on its 90-day theatrical window, even for a loser like this? Especially when the audience scores are good. I think this movie should get to digital while it still seems like a treat. It's when they rush the movie to digital, suddenly it becomes hotter because you're like, oh, I can see it now? That's kind of fun. Same for Good Fortune. I think both movies meant for streaming, and I think audiences can tell that, which is why they have not done well in theaters. So it'll be interesting to see how they do on digital. I thought I could appreciate Springsteen for what it is, and I thought The Good Fortune, well, actually not a very good movie, had a really wonderful message. I didn't like the film. I thought it was super boring, but I've referenced it in conversation over the past couple of weeks when talking about the ills of society. Ills, that's what I said. Ills of society, especially talking about the New York mayoral campaign and what's going on, in society. Really good message. All right, so finally, what is Stitchhead? That movie down at the bottom there? Well, it's a German animated Halloween movie, which apparently is not very good, which is a shame because those are cool visuals. Moving over to streaming, starting with Nielsen, per usual for the September to October transition, as I said, still no Peacemaker with episode 7. This was its second to last episode. I didn't like this episode. Some of you defended it. But the only hope for this show now is a binge bump next week on the originals chart with its season finale. It's its last chance to chart next week. The Penguin managed to do it at the last minute. We'll see what happens. Do you think Peacemaker will be able to trend next week? What do you think? Or chart. Okay, so at least Gen V season 2 and its third week with its 5th episode. Remember, all Prime Video shows start with 3 episodes out of the gate. It managed to just barely make it back into the top 10. It was like, I'm still here, renew me. Still no season 3 renewal, by the way. The longer it takes, the worse it looks. Just like Alien Earth. That's not going to happen either. I mean, fucking Halo is charting. Halo, that should embarrass everybody, right? That show was not only universally shunned by fans, but canceled last year. So why is it back on this chart? Well, turns out this chart has an error because I did some digging and it seems that Halo just hit Netflix. And so that should be put up here. It should be Paramount Plus and Netflix are currently airing Halo. And apparently, once again, the Coca-Cola of streaming services has managed to turn another streamer's flop into gold. Why do people like the show on Netflix? What is about Netflix that people will be like, I'll watch this crap? What is it? It's fascinating to me. Maybe James Gunn should ask Zazie to put Peacemaker on Netflix, right? I mean, they put a lot of Warner Brothers stuff on Netflix already because Zazie likes money. And incidentally, it's the thought of getting all of Warner Brothers content for a one-time price, then for the rest of time, that's making Netflix kick the tires of the studio right now. That's why I've soured a little bit on Netflix purchasing Warner Brothers, because it turns out they just want it for the library of content and the IP going forward. I don't think Netflix wants to get into the movie business. That would just be disastrous. Disastrous. But if they give Zazie $30 a share and he gets his $500 million take home, he doesn't care. Oh my God. All right, and Netflix loves the streaming business. Why would they want to go to theatrical? Look how they're dominating all the charts, overall, originals and movies. Interestingly, when it comes to new content, not acquired, only Paramount Plus is able to make a dent with the Taylor Sheridan Show and The Naked Gun. Remember, Halo is only on here because of Netflix. And also Prime Video, which is Amazon. They're behind Gen V. And the #1 movie this week, Play Dirty, that Mark Wahlberg, that shows that Mark Wahlberg has really turned himself into a streaming star. Since Uncharted, which did okay, so I don't know why he made this pivot. Well, I think I do know. Money. Most of his movies have been for streaming services, with his most popular for Apple TV and a holiday sequel to that film right around the corner. Yep, Wahlberg is making a ton of cash and keeping most of it thanks to his new home in Las Vegas, where Nevada has no income tax. Ka-ching! Then on Netflix's charts for just last week, yes, K-pop Demon Hunters has slipped another spot down to 3rd place. Hey, it can't stay at the top forever, and its slide down is impressively slow. So yes, it's still in the top 3, and now it's averaging still about 15 million views a week. That's amazing. Catherine Bigelow, though, A House of Dynamite. I never saw the hype behind this movie. I was like, I'm not seeing it, guys. And I think it's almost like, I know, I'm not quite sure who is trying to make this movie happen. Hollywood, Netflix, the media. But it's not happening. Its debut is on par with Keira Knightley's The Woman in Cabin 10, which is solid. And that movie's still in the top 5, by the way. But it's not exactly like a hot movie, right? Like, A House of Dynamite was supposed to be an Oscar frontrunner. And on that note, I think almost all of its awards buzz is gone, much less, not what it was. I think the ending is just that bad. What did you watch the movie? What did you think of it? All right, and Netflix continues, though, to also do extremely well with true crime, with The Perfect Neighbor in 2nd place. With shows, Nobody Wants This Season 2 might be #1, but it's about 2 million views less in its debut than Season 1 was. Sequels are supposed to go up in terms of viewership because the fan base is supposed to have grown. And there's also been a slew of negative headlines about the show, plus some drama around Kristen Bell. That Season 3 renewal, I don't know if it's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet, and I would not renew it. I mean, not only because of the negativity that's surrounding the show at the moment, but also having watched Season 2, I got screeners early, I just think the show has nowhere to go. Frustratingly so. It's like it's one of those situations where they have to create drama and conflict to keep the show going. And it's just a variation on the first season's conflict. And so, I don't know if the showrunner ever imagined the show going beyond Season 1, but what kind of showrunner is like, I don't know. Some of you might be like, she's an artist, Grace. She had 1 season in her, but then she should have maybe said that. Because, I don't know. I don't know what Netflix paid her, but, now she's got a flop sitting on her resume. All right, so The Diplomat has a season 4 renewal, but as we discussed last week, that's because of all the critical praise and nominations that the show gets, not viewership. I mean, it's okay. It must not be that expensive to film. It has a couple of expensive elements, but I think mostly it's the critical praise and it gets so many nominations. I'm hoping it's going to maybe someday win some of them. And it did pull season 2 back into the top 10, of season 1, one of its earlier seasons into the top 10. And Nobody Wants This pulled its season 1 to the top 10, so it's got that going for it. Boots is also holding steady, but Monster season 3, while the first Monster is Netflix's 5th most watched show of all time, Ryan Murphy has not been able to recreate that same magic. He's got another season coming though. But wow, for all the complaining, do you see Wednesday season 2 there at number 4, right ahead of Monster? It is like 100 million views less than season 1. So hopefully the show has paid attention to all the complaints so they can fix them for the 3rd season. What advice would you give Wednesday for season 3? Mine would be to not split it into multiple parts and also release it closer to Halloween. Well, the first season actually came out for Thanksgiving, but more when it's more fall-y, right? More fall time. Again, what would you recommend to them? Then on digital, with Apple's charts, here's Warner Brothers again, baby! Number 1 with The Conjuring 4 for Halloween weekend. And sure enough, by the way, Warner Brothers is developing a prequel movie in addition to a series. Because, hey, this, supposedly the final movie in the franchise, also ended up being the most successful. So yeah, it's going to keep going. That choice to do a prequel is interesting. I don't know if the series will do as well without Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. Let's see who they cast. I mean, maybe Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga will bookend the show, having their memories. That might work. What would you think? Are you interested in a Conjuring movie without those two? Warner Brothers' Weapons also did great for the holiday weekend, as did the original Halloween, as well as more Stephen King with The Long Walk. Nobody 2 is on sale for just $10 to own, putting it back into the top 10 as well, high up at the top. And wow, F1, Jurassic World Rebirth, and Mission Impossible Final Reckoning have been in this top 10 for so long, they must be making a ton of money here. Whoo! As for this coming weekend, can Hollywood get you to go to the movies before Wicked for Good, Zootopia 2, and Avatar 3? Their first bit of bait for you in the multiplex is Predator Badlands, which crash lands into theaters this weekend on IMAX and Dolby screens. And there are still tickets available. This is the AMC Lincoln Square, by the way. This is the fastest theater to sell out in New York City. So if this is what this theater looks like, it's not looking good. Let's see what that Rotten Tomatoes score is. Nuremberg, which recently got ridiculed on social media for releasing character posters, which they then rescinded, also hits theaters in wide release, while in limited release, Mubi's awards hopeful this year after The Substance is Die My Love with Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. This is why Jennifer Lawrence has been everywhere the past week or so, promoting this movie. But getting a lot of headlines, not so many about the film. Did you know that she had a movie coming out? And did you know that this was it? And are you planning to see the movie? Or are you just enjoying the headlines? Ceres Oil, based on the true story, and Norway's awards frontrunner A Sentimental Value with Stellan Skarsgård. So those are all going to be in theaters as well, but again in limited release. On digital, on Tuesday, here's the smashing machine. Christopher Nolan says, don't miss it. Dwayne Johnson, I think, is very good in the role. And with streaming, it'll be interesting to see if it finds an audience. And with streaming movies, Fantastic Four hits Disney Plus on Wednesday, plus Tyler Perry, this time for Prime Video, has a new movie. While on Friday, Frankenstein, after its brief theatrical run, hits Netflix. Very curious to see how this is received. Both because I think only the Del Toro diehard fans ran out to see it in theaters, and I think skewed the audience score. I think it's a weaker film than the audience score suggests. I like the second half, though. And then also, in an effort to try and get people interested in the movie, Netflix spoiled a lot on social media. So let's see. It could have a Saltburn effect, Jacob Elordi's last film, where people are posting GIFs and memes all weekend, and that would help it maybe. All right, finally, are you going to watch it? What do you think? Finally, with shows, HBO adds I Love LA to its Sunday night lineup starting tonight. It goes, Welcome to Derry, The Chair Company, which ain't nobody talking about, and then I Love LA. She's probably like, couldn't you put me before The Chair Company? While on Tuesday, Netflix brings back its own Squid Game reality show, even though everybody else has their own version of one. And Hulu has Ryan Murphy's All's Fair, a legal sudster with Kim Kardashian in her first lead role in a scripted series. Exciting or a sign of the apocalypse? All right, so Thursday, it's a bit of a Succession revival with new shows for Shiv and Tom on competing streaming services, both dropping their entire seasons at once. I started the Death by Lightning one on Netflix. It's okay. I didn't love it, but I do like the cast, so maybe I'll go back to it. Plus, season 2 of the Vince Staples Show drops on Netflix, while HBO kicks off docuseries Alex vs. A-Rod. And there's more! Friday, Vince Gilligan reunites with his Better Call Saul star Rhea Seehorn for Plurbius on Apple TV. Talk about something somebody should have been promoting. Did any of you even know that? I mean, is Vince Gilligan going to have his first flop? But, I mean, his track record is so amazing. While on Saturday, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony for 2025 will once again air live on Disney+, with an incredible lineup of inductees, but also presenters and performers, like not listed here, but like Chappell Roan and Jim Carrey are going to be on this. That sounds pretty good. So many options. No wonder so few of us are on the same page these days. It's this crowded field that makes something like HBO's Sunday night appointment television so valuable. Be sure to factor that into the price, Zazzy. Remember to underline that. So sad. I can't believe that somebody's going to own that. That's nuts. All right, so I'm like, what would Netflix do with such a thing? Would they care? Would they sell off if they want the HBO IP, though. Oh, I don't even know what to say. Would HBO just become like a brand on Netflix? All right, so, and that's this, I don't know, what? And also, would Netflix therefore switch to weekly, even though they don't do weekly? Oh my God. All right, so that's this week's Movie Math. What have you been watching? What do you plan to watch? And why do you think October 2025 was such a disaster at the box office? Share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.